Yo, how's it going guys? In today's video, I'm going to show you how to learn air dribbles in Rocket League. Now, I know there are a ton of videos out there on this already, and a lot of them do contain some useful info. I found that when I was learning, as a normal player like most of you guys, and not a professional, that those videos didn't always explain things as well as they could have, or they missed some things out altogether. Because of that, I had to watch a bunch of different videos and take a few aspects from each one of them before I could pull off air dribbles consistently. So the purpose of this video is to make the learning process a lot easier for you guys and to save you the time and effort that it took me to learn how to air dribble by making a comprehensive tutorial which covers most of, if not all of the nuances and skills that it takes to pull off an air dribble. Now obviously, learning a new skill in Rocket League isn't easy, so be prepared to put in the time with your training and I promise you'll be able to learn this. Alright, before we begin, I just want to remind you guys to click that like button if you enjoyed the video, and to subscribe if you'd like to see more of this kind of content from me in the future. It's free and it helps me out a ton. Also, for those of you that don't know already, I stream live on Twitch every Monday, Wednesday and Friday. The link to my channel will be in the description, so if you have any more questions for me, that's the best place to find me. Okay, let's go learn how to air dribble. Firstly, we need to understand the different components that make up an air dribble by breaking it down into steps and practicing each step one at a time until we're proficient enough to combine them into one nice, fluid air dribble. Most players would agree that there are 4 key steps that come together to create a successful air dribble. Let's look at an air dribble now so that we can highlight each one of those steps. So step 1 is what I like to call the roll up. This is the step where you roll the ball flat up the wall with enough speed to ensure that you can get enough height and speed on the ball to make step 2 possible. If the ball is bouncing instead of rolling, an air dribble is still possible, but it makes step 2 a lot more difficult. So for now, you guys should really focus on always rolling the ball flat. Okay, so on to step 2, and this is the setup. This is, in my opinion, the most important and by far the most difficult part of an air dribble. Your aim here is to try and hit the ball off of the wall and into the air towards the goal with just the right amount of height and speed to ensure that when you jump off the wall, you can catch the ball and begin your air dribble before the ball starts to descend. So now that you've hit the ball into the air, we move on to step 3, the catch. Just like the name suggests, this step is about catching the ball on the front of your car. You need to jump off the wall, air roll your car to face the ball and boost just enough to catch up to the ball before gravity starts to pull it down, but not so fast that you hit the ball too far away from you. A good rule of thumb to follow is to match the speed of the ball and let go of boost just before you make contact. Okay, so now we get to the final step, which is probably the easiest step, provided that you executed all of the previous steps correctly. This is the actual dribble portion, and depending on how good your catch was, from this point on, to score a goal, you should only really need to feather your boost, which means to tap it repeatedly, just lightly. If you do this properly, you should be able to push the ball through the air and towards the goal, while keeping it close to the front of your car. Step 4 is where you can really begin to express your creativity in the air dribble. This is the flashy part of the play, which everyone sees in the montages and the clips, and you think, oh my god, like how did he do that? As you become more proficient, you can begin incorporating air rolls in your air dribble to change the direction of the ball, or you can even finish the dribble with another advanced technique like a flip reset, or even flying past the ball and destroying the goalkeeper so they have absolutely no chance to save it. However, for now, for most players, simply pushing the ball towards the goal in a straight line is what you should really be focusing on here. Okay, so let's quickly go over that again. We have step 1, the roll up. We have step 2, the setup. We have step 3, which is the catch. And the 4th and final step is the dribble itself. Alright, now that you know the different parts of an air dribble, you're probably wondering how you should practice them. Well, don't worry, I've got you covered. Let's look at each step now, one by one, in a lot more detail. We'll begin with step 1, the roll up. As I mentioned already, this is the part where you roll the ball up the wall Remember, you do not want the ball to be bouncing here when it reaches the wall. Ideally, it needs to be rolling flat along the ground with enough speed to roll up the wall and past the advertisement boards. I'll draw a line on screen now in case you're unsure where I mean. As long as the ball rolls over and above that line, you should be fine. This is quite simple to practice. All I would recommend is going into free play, driving around to the side of the ball, and then driving into it lightly enough so that it doesn't move too far away from you. And then once the ball is moving towards the wall, you can drive into it again with a little bit of boost to give it enough speed to roll up the wall. You can also push the ball by flipping into it to give it more speed, but I find that when I do this, I have a little bit less control, so for now I'd recommend sticking to the slightly slower and more controlled approach. Another thing to note here is that depending on how far away you are from the opposition's goal, you will need more or less speed on the ball. The closer you are to the goal, the less speed that you need, and the further away that you are, the more that you need. You'll get a feel for this as you practice it from different areas of the pitch, but I just wanted to mention it here because it will be important later on. Alright guys, once you've practiced step 1 for a little while and you feel like you've got the hang of it, we can move on to step 2, the setup. Like I mentioned before, this is probably the most difficult part of an air dribble to learn, or at least it certainly was for me, but hopefully with my help we can get you pulling off some nice, clean setups in no time. To practice this, I'd recommend jumping out of free play and going into a custom training pack. By using the right training pack, we can skip step 1 entirely and focus solely on step 2, which will save you quite a lot of time in the future. To find a custom training pack, from the main menu, you need to go to Play, Training, hit the Custom tab, click the Browse button on the top here, go down to the bottom and hit the Enter Code button, and then copy the code that's displayed on screen now into the pop-up box. Then hit the OK button. Now, this is the training pack that I began with and I still use to this day to practice my air dribbles. It's the JCat RL Air and Wall Dribbles pack. Okay, make sure you guys hit the favorite button at the bottom right here, just so you don't have to enter the code in every single time you want to use the pack. And when you're ready to begin, hit the play button. Okay, so once you guys get into the training pack, I want you to go ahead and skip right over to shot number 6. The first 5 shots are a little bit more advanced, so we can come back to those later on. So the great thing about shot number 6, guys, is that it enables you to skip step 1 entirely, as the ball will roll up the wall by itself without you having to do anything. This lets you focus your training on getting step 2 right, and then eventually steps 3 and 4 as well. Okay, to execute step number 2 properly, there are a few things that you need to do. Firstly, you need to match the speed of the ball as well as you can. The closer your speed to that of the ball, the better. Secondly, you need to consider which part of the ball you need to hit in order to send it flying in the right direction. Imagine that the bottom of the ball is divided into 3 sections. Hitting the right side will send the ball up and to the left. Hitting the left side will send the ball up and to the right. And hitting the ball dead in the middle will send it straight up and behind you. The further to either side that you hit in relation to the center, the more to the opposite side the ball will go. So hitting the ball all the way on the right side will send it off way more to the left than hitting it just a little bit to the right of the center point of the ball. There is no single correct answer as to which section of the ball you have to hit, as it changes depending on where you are on the field. There are, however, 2 rules that you can follow to make this a little bit easier to determine. Rule number 1 is that you never want to hit the ball on the side closest to the opposing goal. This will send the ball arcing away from their goal and make it basically impossible to shoot. Rule number 2 is that the further away you are from the goal, you need to hit the ball further from the middle. Generally, if you're anywhere past the halfway line, you can hit the ball slightly off center and it should start heading towards the opposing goal. I'm really sorry guys, I know this part was a little bit confusing, but hopefully I explained it well enough that it makes sense to you. If in doubt, you can always rewatch this section of the video in future, but like I said, this step is definitely the most difficult, and even if it doesn't make perfect sense now, After a bit of trial and error in training, this info will soon sink in, trust me. Alright guys, we're almost there with step 2 now, I promise. If you can just learn this last part, you'll be super close to air dribbling in no time. Now, let's watch what we've learned in slow motion to make it easy to see what's going on. Firstly, you can see in the clip that I watch the speed of the ball and match it as well as I can. I then allow the ball to roll up just above the advertisement line before I make contact slightly to the right of the ball to send it up and slightly to the left towards the goal. What really helped me here with getting the right amount of power on the ball was letting go of accelerate just before I make contact with the ball. I found that if I didn't, I'd often hit the ball too far away for me to be able to catch it in step 3. Finally, you want to jump either the moment you hit the ball or a split second afterwards. I prefer jumping slightly after contact, but this seems to be more of a personal preference thing, so try out both ways. And finally guys, I should mention that I like to use ball cam pretty much every single time I do this. But if you find it easier with ball cam turned off, that's absolutely fine too. Just make sure you try it both ways and see which one you prefer. Alright guys, if you made it this far, then give yourself a huge pat on the back. You've learned how to roll the ball at the wall and how to set up the ball properly to enable you to perform an air dribble. Now we get to the final 2 and definitely the most fun parts of air dribbling. So the ball is in the air, you've jumped off the wall, and you're wondering what to do next. Well, it may look confusing at first, but it's actually fairly simple. Before you can initiate the catch, you need to air roll your car to face the ball. The easiest way to do this is to air roll in the opposite way to whichever wall you were on. So if you were on the left wall, you would air roll right and vice versa. This absolutely needs to be a quick, fluid movement because you can't afford to waste too much time correcting your car. Otherwise the ball will start to give into gravity, at which point your dreams of air dribbling this time are basically shattered, and you have to press the reset shot button for the 100th time. This air roll technique took me quite a while to master, because I was making a big mistake and it took countless hours of watching other videos to realise it. This mistake was, I was air rolling, then boosting towards the ball, instead of air rolling and boosting at the same time. That way you're correcting your car's angle while also closing distance to the ball. Okay, let me say that again for you guys. As soon as you jump, you want to be air rolling and boosting at the same time. Alright, I think I made my point. So you've hit the ball into the air rolled to face the ball, and you're going to reach the ball before it loses its upward trajectory and starts falling down towards the ground. What you need to do now is to control your car's speed to make sure you don't hit the ball too far away from you. To do this, you need to feather your boost just the right amount so that you're matching the speed of the ball as well as you can. If you do this correctly, all you need to worry about now is hitting the correct point on the ball. Remember earlier when I told you guys to imagine the ball having 3 sections? We need to do that again here, but instead of left to right, the sections go from top to bottom. If you hit the top section, the ball will move slightly forward and mostly downwards, which is the opposite of what you want, so avoid hitting this section. If you hit it in the middle section, the ball will move forward and slightly down. If you hit the bottom section, the ball will move forward and either gain or maintain its height. This is what you want. If you do it correctly, the ball will maintain or even gain height and be pushed towards the goal. If your speed is correct, you should remain very close to the ball once you've made contact. If you manage this, then well done, you've just performed a catch. Treat yourself to a cookie or something. Okay guys, now that you know how to perform a catch, you can move on to the final stage, the dribble itself. What you need to do now is feather your boost and try to get a bunch of consecutive touches on the bottom section of the ball while pushing it towards the goal. You've done it perfectly if you can barely tell that you're touching the ball multiple times, and instead it looks like the ball is stuck to the front of the car. One final tip I can give is to aim for the crossbar. This will help you keep the ball high enough to get it into the top of the goal, making it a lot harder to save. Once this becomes easy, the next step for you is to begin experimenting with air rolls and the angle of your car during the dribble, to try and change the direction of the ball and aim for a specific section of the goal. Alright, there's not much else for me to teach you guys on this section. It's a matter of persisting with your training and you'll soon get the hang of it. So now that you know what to do, guys, it's a case of practicing each one of these steps as described. At first, your attempts may look more like this, where you hit the ball 2 or 3 times in the air instead of getting a smooth push with the ball sitting on the front of your car. Don't beat yourself up about this, you're still technically doing an air dribble, so you should be really proud of yourself for making it this far. With a little bit more practice, you'll become better at keeping the ball close to the car. Then, when you're proficient enough for all 4 steps, you can try and string them all together yourself in free play. If you do that, and then work on the other shots in the training pack that I provided, you'll become a godlike dribbler in no time. I know that not every shot in the training pack is an air dribble like I taught in the video today, so for now you can skip those shots and just work on the wall air dribbles. I will be releasing a tutorial for more advanced air dribblers in the future, and that will include how to air dribble from the ground. Learning to air dribble will be a huge factor in your progression as a Rocket League player, as this skill will lay the foundation for a bunch of other mechanics in the game, like flip resets, ceiling shots, just to name a few. Stick to the training drills that I've shown you in this video, and don't be discouraged if you get stuck along the way. Remember, everyone learns at their own pace, so there isn't a set time frame you should be aiming for to learn this stuff. As long as you have fun and don't let yourself get too frustrated, I absolutely promise that you'll be able to learn this. Anyway, that's all for this tutorial, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope that this video helped you out. Before you go, this is your friendly reminder to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video and consider subscribing to the channel. Also, hit the notification bell so you never miss any of my future uploads. If you have questions about the video or in general, please let me know in the comments or come and let me know on my Twitch channel. The link will be in the description below. Alright guys, I'm going to leave you there. Good luck with your training, I love you all, and peace.